Okay, it's now 6 o'clock, so I'd like to call our meeting to order and roll call, please.
Director LaHue,
Here.
Vice President Lather,
Here.
Director Jaffe,
Here.
Director Christensen,
Here.
and President Daniels.
Here as well. There's no public hearing tonight. That's item 2. And before we go on, I'm going to announce that we're going to change the orders somewhat. So we're actually going to start with the closed session. So that'll be 8.0, I think it is. And then after we're done with that, we'll come back to item 3 and continue.
So should we leave this meeting right now then?
Yeah,
We have one public comment,
First.
so Becca will unmute Ms. Steinbruner for her 2 minutes.
Ms. Steinbrenner, you've been unmuted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Becky Steinbruner. I hope that there is some sort of an announcement for members of the public coming in late to this so that they think that they didn't miss the meeting, that you are just in closed session. Will somebody be monitoring that in case somebody else joins on late?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. To the end of the to speak to the closed session, I just want to tell you again that I intend to pursue this issue with full vigor. And I want to again point out to you that you have the opportunity right now to correct and cure some of the problems that I felt and many others in the community felt needed to be addressed with your certification of the original Pure Water Soquel project in December of 2018. And namely that one item could be notification of schools, which you did not do. And you will be neglecting a wonderful opportunity to correct that right now if you do not do a subsequent EIR. I want to just say that I have received the respondent's brief regarding the appeal, and it is quite shocking to read that it makes many claims in error. I can and will provide proof of that by going to the court and getting documents to verify that this is misinformation and erroneous claims being made against me. So I am pursuing it, and I will continue to pursue it. It is not because I want to delay you or to cause problems, but just because the original EIR was so bad.
Stop it. Thank you. Okay, so we're going into closed session. So all the directors should leave this one and we'll come back later and we'll go to the other one. All right.
Becca, there's a comment in the chat.
I saw.
Bye.
Mr. Cole, do you want to check your sound right now?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Thank you. I don't see why I don't see my video, but that's all right. You don't want to see me anyway.
As
I see
long as we
you.
can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bye.
Looks like we're quicker than most, Tom.
Guess so.
We're fostering a dog right now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, sad story.
Oh, well, tell me
Abused.
about it. What kind of dog?
It's a pit bull,
Yeah.
cropped ears,
Mm.
and
Okay.
there's like a gash on his throat, looks like. So he might have been in fighting.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah, but
Hmm.
so far he hasn't been aggressive. He's very affectionate.
I would say, just, be aware that they can sometimes be great with people and then really aggressive towards other animals like that.
Well, we've got another small pocket pit, American Staffordshire, and they play.
Good.
That's a good sign, yeah. But
That's
we will be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you in the dark, Rochelle?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I have these fluorescent lights overhead.
Well, I see you.
Can't see your face though. You're like a
No,
silhouette.
I look better that way.
Okay, so we're back from the closed session. No action was taken, and we're continuing. So the next
See me
item
better.
is,
See?
pardon? The next item is item 3, announcement by board members of items to be removed from the consent. So, Tom, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. Rochelle, do you have anything?
No.
Mr. Jaffe, do you have anything?
There's requests to remove several of the items and reasons for it. I think 4.4, the annual reporting of excess real property, I'd like to remove that.
So you said you are approving that one?
Yeah, I would like to have 4.4.
Okay, 4.4. And Carla, do you have anything to remove?
No, I don't.
And neither do I. So 4.4 will be heard at the end of the session, just before we end the meeting. And so we are going to approve all the rest of them. No 4.1, so it'll be 4.2, 4.3, 4.5, 4.6, and 4.7.
But we need public comment first.
We have
Yeah.
one public comment on the remaining consent agenda.
Right.
Ms. Steinbruner, you've been unmuted.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Director Jaffe, thank you for pulling item 4.4. I really think it does need to be discussed, and I thank you for doing that. I want to ask why there are no minutes from the November 17th meeting, and I would like a decision from council if, because there are no minutes to approve, whether action can be taken on related items 7.2, at which you took action last time with resolution 2025. So I'd like to know why there are no minutes, and there is no video either on the website for last meeting. There have been no videos posted of meetings since October 20th. I would like to urge your board to approve the claim on item 4.6 for Mr. Howard. It seems that you admit it is partly your fault because the box that is the district's responsibility was not maintained. And it is a negligence of staff who should be checking these things, but maybe it's the AMI smart meters that no longer require that level of monitoring resources that the district has out there. So out of goodwill and not requiring additional staff time on this any further, I would like to ask that your board approve the claim presented by Mr. Howard. I would also, in item 4.7, I wrote your board and received a nice letter from Ms. Olin, thank you, stating that it was an error to claim that the upper management had received a 4.4% cost of living last
Time is
year. I
up.
got that
you,
information
Ms.
from your
Steinbrenner.
website.
Time is up. Okay, so anyone wish to respond to that public comment? That was the only one we have listed.
Well,
So-
just on approving or denying claims, this was confusing to me when I first came on the board. The procedure is to deny and then let the people who are JPIA review it. So it's not that we agree or disagree with the claim. It's just how we go about it.
That's correct, Director Jaffe. Anything over $2,500, we do refer to JPIA for resolution. That doesn't mean it won't be resolved to the customer satisfaction. It just means there's the protocol that we need to follow. If it's under 2,500, we can do it in-house.
Okay, so
I'll make a motion for the other consent items.
Second.
okay, we have a motion, a second. That was Carla who did the second, and Tom who did the motion. Roll call, please.
Director LaHue,
Yes.
Vice President Lather,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Daniels.
Yes. So that's item 4. We're done, except for the one we're going to hear at the end, 4.4. So we now go on to the oral and written communications. So I think we have 2 people wanting to speak on this item. You wanna
Correct.
pick one?
We will start with Mr. Cole.
Mr. Cole, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good, thank you. I'm sorry my video camera's not working, but it's just as well you don't see me tonight. I do hope all of you are keeping safe under these very trying circumstances. Just stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy. I received an email from Emma Olin at 3 p.m. today indicating that staff is reviewing my letter and is going to respond in the near future. That's fine. However, I trust that some of you have been able to read it and digest it yourselves. Anyway, I do have 2 really sincere requests from you tonight that you can do in the meantime that staff is responding. Please, I urge you to do the following tonight if you can. Will one of you please make a motion to reinstate the monthly water billings by tier and customer class chart in the finance status report, like the July 2020 chart I produced? That chart is much more useful than the percentage charts because we can identify how much monthly revenue you're taking in by customer class. Further, we can calculate the usage consumption because we know the rates. The ideal scenario, however, would be to also split out the commercial and outdoor irrigation classes instead of grouping them into non-domestic. That would even be more useful. The last chart of monthly billings was March 2017. These need to be reinstated so we have transparency of your revenue by tier and customer class. So please could someone make a motion and have that done? The second item is, I don't quite understand why this Raftelis rate evaluation study was done, or maybe it was, but please direct staff to have it done as proposed and approved by you, but with the additional caveat to investigate and correct the disproportionate cost of service charge between single family and multifamily residences that I identified. By doing this, you would ensure a fair and equitable cost of service rate structure for single family residences and multifamilies. There's no reason why you should wait to direct staff. After all, it has been almost a year since you approved the funding. You don't even have to revote on it. Now, maybe there was some reason why it couldn't be done. Because of COVID, I don't know. So, to be fair, that could be the reason why it was never done. But those are the 2 things I would like to see done tonight. And I look forward to the response by staff. And again, stay safe, everybody. This is a dangerous, dangerous situation right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
I'd just like to say that we can't make any motions or have any votes unless it's on the written agenda. And so we couldn't do that at all tonight. That'll have to wait until at least the next meeting when hopefully we'll have staff's response anyway. So,
I was going to just ask that we can direct staff to bring that back to us at a future meeting.
sure.
And that's what I'd like to see, those two things, just to get a report on their response and if there's anything else we need to look at related to those comments. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. So I think we're going now to Becky to hear her comments.
Ms. Steinbrenner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to thank Mr. Cole for his excellent work. The ratepayers should be all very grateful for him, and you should too, to have someone be so diligent in their work and be so fair and so reasonable is really an amazing thing. So I want to thank Mr. Cole. And I also had a question along those lines regarding the tier structure, and this will come up a little later, perhaps in the next item. But it seems very disproportionate that tier 1 for residential and multifamily would be at one level, and tier 2 would be 5 times higher. And then for commercial and irrigation, it's a flat amount, no tiered use at all, but a different number. So I don't understand how these sorts of things can be justified under Prop 218. And to Mr. Cole's excellent suggestion, your board did approve Raftellus for a $35,000 contract to work all this out. And I haven't seen it either. So again, thank you to Mr. Cole. I would like to point out again that there are no videos on your website of past meetings since October 20th. Your action minutes are inadequate in terms of documenting what members of the public say. Even discussion among the board members and staff are not registered in the action minutes that your district now takes. That used to be much different, and to be able to read the minutes, you could get a much better idea of what had happened. But with the action minutes, that's impossible. So I ask that you please put up the videos for the minutes, for the board meetings in a timely manner. I would also like to let you know that the Aptos Library is now open on a very limited basis. Your board agreed to supply the public with a hard copy of your agenda packet in advance of your meetings made available at the Aptos Library, and then the library closed. So I would like to just let you know it is open on a very limited basis during the weekdays, and ask that you please supply a hard copy of the agenda packets in a timely manner for the public. I would like to point out that you are planning another rate increase. I'm hearing people very worried out there, and I don't know how you can go on this way, quite frankly. I did, on another note, visit the Twin Lakes recharge well today, and it is very noisy, extremely noisy. And I wonder why you did not put up a sound wall.
Okay, so that's item 5.0. We're now going to go to item 6, which I think is no reports. And now we go to item 7.1. There is an unconditional will serve and subdivision agreement.
Can I just, sorry,
Tom?
just,
Tom,
I was just going to suggest that when the time comes to have another public committee, subcommittee on rates, that maybe Mr. Cole would be interested in being, involved in, it's always good to have different viewpoints and somebody who's detail oriented on it, because we had like 11 public members last time to try and help work on rates, and maybe in the future he'd be interested in being on them.
In fact, last time, everyone who volunteered got on the committee. So
yeah,
we might well do that in the future. So,
thank you.
All right.
Right.
Trouble.
So Taj, I think this is yours.
Right. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to remind the board that there was a policy that was established that any development 1 acre foot or larger than 1 acre foot would be brought to the board for will serve approval, and this project qualifies. We've had a few, not a lot, of smaller accessory dwelling units and single-family homes that have been processed by staff authority, but not a significant number of them. This project is a redevelopment of an existing lot that has two structures on it, and currently served by 2 meters. And the proposed development would add 13 new townhomes. I want to clarify, it says 16 lots. There's a remainder lot that is basically the driveway, just so you don't, misunderstand how that is. There's just 13 new townhomes. All water demand offsets, as well as water capacity fees, drop-in fees, and deposits have been paid. I know there was some confusion amongst the public about some of the water demand offset fees, and I wanted to clarify that. The total water demand offset for this project, after calculating a Go Green credit, is 3.03 acre feet a year. The applicants did a direct install, a portion of the water demand offset through a direct install, and that resulted in a credit of about 0.39 acre feet. They paid 10% of the WDO fee back in January of 2018, and that resulted in $15,312. The detail of the WDO fees is shown on page 3 of the subdivision agreement. And that 10% resulted in 0.2784 acre feet of WDO purchased. The final balance, 90% of the WDO of 2.3616 acre feet, was paid in August 4th of this year, in the amount of $129,888. There was a subsequent payment for the water capacity fees, et cetera, and they're fully up to date on their fees to the tune of over $400,000, and that's listed in the memo. The project will require a main extension of about 400 feet, and that infrastructure will be installed by the developer's contractor, but inspected by our staff to make sure it complies with our standards. I don't have any further updates on the project. If you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer them.
Any questions?
We do public comment first, Bruce.
Oh, okay. Public comment. I think we have Becky on the list.
Yeah, Ms. Steinbrenner, you've been unmuted.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Dufour, thank you for explaining this more. And Ms. Olin, thank you for your letter that you sent me this afternoon. I appreciate that as well. I still, for members of the public trying to look at this, and maybe members of the public who have projects themselves, I think that it is confusing. And the receipts that are, in essence, emails, really do not document anything other than a dollar amount, but there is no parcel number given on those email receipts, no address, and there's no notation as to what those amounts are for. On page 66, it's a very clear receipt of what it was for. The $15,312 as the first water demand offset payment. But in terms of trying to figure out everything, it is impossible, really, because the numbers change and are not explained. For example, the acronym for the ultra efficient toilet, I assume is what that means. it's difficult to figure out what that number really means. Is that acre feet or is that for one unit? So for transparency, I think it really needs to have a better level of documentation of when things are paid, where the project is, and what it is for, what the sum will pay for, and how that sum was calculated. And then perhaps attach a running balance for that project's account so that it is very clear, very transparent what is going on and what that particular developer is doing. Thank you.
Okay, so we still need to vote on 7.1. Anyone wish to make any motions?
I have a question.
Please do.
So Taj, is the system working in terms of communication between the district and the county and just how things are lining up for when their permits are issued and when ours, unconditional and conditional, are issued? Or is it broken in some ways?
Generally speaking, it's working. I don't believe the district has been added to their Hanson routing system, their computer system, where we would be listed as a approval agency. That's been a long-standing request, but it has not been implemented. I think through Shelley's staff, Alyssa and Shelley have done a great job with, communicating with these applicants, and they sign an agreement so they understand the process up front. There's not, you might be referring to some that have slipped through the crack where they built their structure and they come to us for a meter and we've never even talked to them before.
Right.
That hasn't happened in a long time, especially with something like this. The developers, they have to go through a development permit, which is a little different than a single family home. So long story short, yeah, I think it's working. It could be better if we had an actual approval checkbox on their permitting system.
Well, it sounds to me like we should send a letter out to them from our board president asking that this box be added. I'd like to make a motion that we do so. And any other suggestion you have in terms of how we can make sure that we're notified early on rather than late in the process? Whether they'll do it or not, don't know, but I think we should elevate it. I don't know if any other director agrees with that.
I think it would be better, sure.
But can we make a motion to do that on this item, or do we have to
I
bring
don't think we can.
My recommendation on that, because it wasn't specifically agendized for that purpose, is I think we could certainly provide direction to that effect to staff, and we can move forward with that.
Okay, I'd like to provide direction, and if it needs to be agendized at a future meeting, I'd like to ask that it be agendized.
Thank you, Director Jaffe.
Okay, so that sounds good. Well, we still have not approved this. Someone want to make a motion on that?
I'll move. I think we've been waiting for this project. This wasn't one of the projects that got delayed because of lack of information. I thought the receipts reflecting payment were pretty clear, and it seemed that the review process went as it should.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Michelle seconds it. So roll call, please.
Director LaHue,
Yes.
Vice President Lather,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Daniels.
No. Okay, so we move on now to item 7.2, approval of tertiary treatment facility land lease.
Good evening. I'll be taking this one. Good evening, board. It's a pleasure to present this item tonight. This memo seeks board consideration of the approval of a land lease by and between the city of Santa Cruz and the district for locating and constructing a tertiary treatment facility component of the Pure Water Soquel project down at the Santa Cruz Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility. The Pure Water Soquel project will treat a portion of the secondary water fluent from the city's treatment plant with the new tertiary treatment facility component. You know, I don't need to dwell on the problem, but I think it's always, we're remiss if we don't. You know that we have a big challenge with our community and stopping for them to stop seawater intrusion or to ruin our water supply. And that we have a mandate by the state to bring it back in sustainability. You know that we're part of the Mid-County Groundwater Agency and working with the city and other agencies who are responsible for ensuring that the basin becomes sustainable and those mandates are met. Bring it back in sustainability by 2040. It's not too far out there. The GSP, the Groundwater Sustainability Plan by the MGA was submitted, and it shows Pure Water Soquel as a key project in helping reach that sustainability. What we have here tonight is an attachment 1, I believe, is the interagency project agreement, which formalized the collaboration between the city and the district for the Pure Water Soquel project. And that was unanimously approved by the city council and the Soquel, our board, you, in the summer of 2019. However, the land lease, which is attachment 2, is the subject of tonight and is the next step in that collaborative efforts of the city and the district, and has been developed to provide the terms and the conditions for the construction of the tertiary treatment component of Pure Water Soquel. And this land lease will be an attachment to the interagency project agreement. I want to acknowledge the board did receive one email correspondence that was from a member of the public, Ms. Steinbrunner. It was sent to the board regarding this item. The district staff, its CEQA experts, and its legal counsel reviewed and evaluated her comments and the contents of the email, and they do not appear to identify a procedural basis for reopening the board's prior decision. So the action before you tonight is to adopt resolution 2027. I won't go through the whole thing. It's there and it's been presented. I'm sure you've read it. However, before you take public comment on this item and consider what action you will take, I think it's worth noting that the city council unanimously approved the land lease agreement at their November 24th, 2020 meeting. And I don't know, I don't think any of you attended. I was able to attend. I believe we have a short clip so you get a flavor of what that meeting was like and what your colleagues from from the city had to say about this. The item was on consent. It did not get pulled, but it did. Some of the council members did ask to comment on it. And so that's what you'll hear tonight. Three city council members commenting, and I think the public works director responding to one of the comments. Thank you, Becca. If you could roll the clip.
Water geek today, so these are the kinds of things that get me excited. I just wanted to recognize that this is for the public. This is an agreement with Soquel Creek Water District, which was actually we agreed to this work a number of months ago, but this is actually a land lease with the water district, Soquel Creek Water District, and the City of Santa Cruz Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility to construct and locate a tertiary treatment facility at our wastewater treatment facility. And for the public, this is
Stop for a second,
again,
Becca.
another very
Can you mute everybody? I think that's part of the problem we're feeding back.
If you could start it over again.
Oh, I will try. Their thing is finicky trying to get to the right thing.
You could just go from where you are then.
Okay. Is everybody muted? Okay.
significant, basically a significant day that this agreement is before us. Like, again, it's on consent, but in terms of long-term the long-term future of our water supply and the way that we manage it with our neighbor, Soquel Creek Water District. This is a really, really significant action. And I just, again, want to recognize our Public Works engineering staff and leadership, and also our water staff, and also just express to the Soquel Creek Water District, who has secured millions in funding, that this is just the way that most people, most agencies fight over water in California, and we've been lucky enough that even though there's been some bumps along the way, that we're making progress. So I just wanted to publicly recognize the significance of what this is really about, and it's securing a water future for our communities that without water we wouldn't be succeeding. So I just wanted to really recognize the significance of this and thank everyone involved.
Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, thank you for Vice Mayor Myers calling this one out as well. This is a really big deal, and a lot of these things happen on consent, and so it's it's not as obvious to the public what we're doing. So I am just wondering a couple of things, and I know we've moved ahead and voted in support, which I was in support last year, and maybe this was covered and I just can't remember or I didn't catch it. I have a couple of questions about, so the tertiary, the Soquel Pure Water portion of this project, is that going to affect the kind of broader environment there, the Neary Lagoon environment? Is there some I'm just wondering how that is going to work in terms of space, available space. And then because some people that I've been talking with prior to the council meeting asked about this, I'm just wondering if there's been any analysis on potential odor impacts. I know that's been an issue in the past, particularly for folks, near the treatment plant. And so I'm just wondering about those two things.
Those are great questions, and I'd like to address those. Basically, there won't be any impact on Neary Lagoon at all. All of the actual space for the tertiary is actually on site at the wastewater treatment facility, and that actually will allow us, the first phase is for Soquel Creek's project, but if the water department decides it's going to go to tertiary, we required space available that we could expand and actually treat our water department water as well. So it actually takes a better use of the product that we make. Right now it's secondary water that goes out to the bay. Actually, we're being able to reuse that water and re-inject into the groundwater after it's been advanced treated. So Soquel Creek will do that. So it's a reuse of that resource. As far as odors, there really shouldn't be any additional odors by this treatment at all. It's a closed system. We do have odor control that we use, and actually, I think it was last meeting, we actually came back to you and you guys approved the contract to update the maintenance agreements for those odor control systems. So that system actually works very well, and we get very few odors at the wastewater treatment plant right now. So we think this is a win-win for the city as well as the Soquel Creek. I think it's a good use of the water, and it helps secure the water supply system for the region.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for the reminder. It's hard to keep all the pieces in my head.
Sure.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Councilmember Matthews.
Well, all of the above, and I just want to mention the context for this is a long, very productive relationship between Santa Cruz City Water and Soquel Creek Water District. This is one, as council members know, many concurrent projects happening, and we are so fortunate that we have the professional and policy sense of partnership about a common shared problem on this. So very pleased to have this going forward, and it's a very promising sign of the ongoing collaboration between our and also reflected in the Mid-County Groundwater Agency, which involves a few other players as well. But this is, as Mark said, win, 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 win.
Are there any further questions?
So thank you, Becca. We really appreciate you showing that. And board, I hope you appreciate it, what your, fellow council members, so to speak, had to say. And we thought it was important that we could share that with you, their, robust support. So that completes the report. I think you, public comment and then questions if you like.
Ms. Steinbrenner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Duncan, I appreciate that you replayed the council's comments. You left out the public comments. There were public comments about that item also. So I hope that the board will listen to the commission, to the council themselves, and hear what other people were saying as well. It's a very one-sided approach you had there. I want to point out again that there are no minutes for the action that you took regarding this project at your last board meeting. So I really question your ability to move forward with further action on this tonight, but I know you will to approve Resolution 2027. I again protest this action. I note that you are getting free rent from the city of Santa Cruz for this facility. I read the agreement and I saw that you were getting free rent. That's very nice, and I hope your ratepayers will appreciate that. But again, I want to point out to you that you have not addressed the significant and hazardous impacts of the treatment plant changes that the NBAF treatment will bring about. You've done no analysis of climate change impacts. Director Daniels, you should be all over this. That's your forte. And yet here you are putting a 9,300 gallon storage tank of lye in a floodplain. Lye is very reactive with water. And you've got 2 schools. Your assessment at the last board meeting claimed there are no schools within 1/4 mile, but that is not true. So I'm asking you to do the right thing. I don't know what you're afraid of. I don't know what you're afraid of.
Questions or comments, Tom?
Nope, I'm pretty happy with it. I thought they did a good job considering all the aspects of the lease agreement.
Rochelle?
I have no comments.
Okay. Mr. Jaffe?
Thank you for the public comment. I've got a procedural question. If there's actually a threat of litigation here, and if I want to clarify whether that has a ground or not, is it possible to go into closed session, or is it something that is brought up here in open session?
Yeah, Director Jaffe, yes, the comments that were just made would be grounds for a future closed session, but I would note that Ms. Steinbrenner has already sent us a written threat of litigation related to this, and so that would be additional grounds for a future closed session.
But in terms of just recessing now into a closed session,
yeah, I wouldn't recommend that because we actually didn't agendize
gotcha.
this threat. We agendized the threat on the addendum itself.
Okay. Well, then I'll rely on the fact that this is not something new, and that our legal team is aware of the issues involved. So no questions.
Carla, any questions, comments?
No, I think this is as we can see from the record here, the packet, it's a project that's been in the works, and the modifications I consider minor, and I agree with it.
Okay. I have nothing to say either, and staff is recommending a single motion to adopt Resolution 2027.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second. Bruce can.
Okay, Bruce Jaffe, seconds. So roll call, please.
Director LaHue,
Yes.
Vice President Lather,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
A long process, and I'm glad that it's come to this point. Yes.
Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Daniels.
Yes, so that is approved unanimously. We now go on to item 7.3, scheduling a mandatory ethics and anti-harassment training.
Tracy Hart is our HR manager is gonna present this item tonight. Thank you, Tracy.
Board President and board members, I am presenting to you tonight opportunity to schedule the mandatory ethics training and anti-harassment training that's required by law for board members in the state of California. As you know, we've done this many times, and 2021 is our biennial training year for both ethics and the anti-harassment training, as we went through the training back in 2019. So we're in our second year and need to schedule both the ethics training and the anti-harassment training. Each of those trainings are required under the law to be 2 hours apiece. And typically we've done those live in person, usually before a board meeting. And typically the board's general counsel has conducted the ethics training, and the last training that we did with the anti-harassment, discrimination, abusive conduct prevention training was conducted live by me as a qualified trainer. And so this year we recognize that all of our training will be virtual, and we are bringing this to the board so that we can schedule these mandatory trainings. Just as a reminder, we used to be able to offset these trainings, but we were required by some of the changes in the law and that went into effect in 2019, that all employees of the district, all employees in California actually needed to go through training again because of some of those changes in the law, which included the board. And so these trainings are actually happening on the same two-year schedule. So we hope to be able to schedule some trainings tonight. We have recommendations to schedule either in live training, which would be conducted, the ethics live training would be conducted by Josh Nelson, the general counsel for the board. And we have a recommendation to offer one of those trainings to the board prior to the February, the first meeting in February. And then we are recommending that we schedule, if you're interested in scheduling a live training, that we schedule that, which would, again, the anti-harassment training would be conducted by me, and we could do that before the second meeting in February. There's also a couple of other options for the board to consider. There are multiple options for some online training in providing some flexibility, but we do want to make sure that if we do go through the online options, that we do have a hard, fast deadline that we're providing tonight, if possible, so that we ensure that we meet our legal requirements for these two trainings.
Thank you. Before we get questions, there's one public comment.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. In the past, I think it has been a benefit to the community, your ratepayers, to be able to hear these trainings and to not actively participate in them, but when Mr. Basso was presenting them and Ms. Hart, I thought they were very good and very informative. And I ask again that whatever method you use, that it be made publicly available for the benefit of your ratepayers and the community. Thank you.
Okay, back to the board. Any questions by anybody?
I've got some questions.
Sure.
And a preference. So I can't do my biennial joke about having the training in Hawaii since it's virtual for ethics. But my serious question is, well, first of all, if we do decide to have it quote unquote live, so virtually live, I'd like to see others invited from other agencies. I think that's we've done that in the past, nice gesture, goodwill. But, and I'll go that way if necessary, but to me it's we're talking 2 hours before a 2-hour meeting. So it's a long stretch of time. My preference is to do this online and do it at a time when it's convenient and not get burnt out by 4 hours. So I guess it wasn't a question, saying my opinion.
I have a related question. Just, I have that preference too, but is there a way to offer the live, but then give us an option of doing it online if that fits in better with our schedule? And
Yes, that's an option. We have done that actually in the past. If we've had members who weren't able to attend, we've always offered that an online training option to make up for the live training that they weren't able to attend. So we could offer kind of a multiple choice. If you can't make it to the live training, then there are lots of trainings that are out there, good quality trainings. The laws as written require that, as I stated in the memo, that very specific training topics are included. And so it's very specific training that has to meet that legal standard.
Carla, Rochelle, do you have any comments or questions?
Well, if we're going to offer the training interagency, I think it's a good idea, but I think it'd be a lot easier if we just had an established time, and it's sort of a lot easier to agree on a time if we know we're having these meetings at a certain time. But so maybe we could plan a break between the end of the training and the start of the meeting or something, modify it, the timing a little bit, but I would still prefer just to keep it on the same day so it gets done. That's just my thought.
Rochelle, anything?
There's pros and cons to everything. I tend to lose my focus on the online ones, but the live ones are a little bit more interactive. Yeah, it is a long day though.
Well, we could certainly have it. I think it's my turn. I like the live ones because that way you can ask questions and clarify things. And the online thing, it's just a sequence. And so if you have any questions, you're out of luck. And I don't think we actually need to have it necessarily on the day of our meeting. We could have it on the other Tuesdays or any other day of the week. So we could find a time that works for all 5 of us, and anyone else who wanted to join us, they would just have to fit into our schedule, I think would be the right way to do it. So that's what I would prefer.
I would like to say that the advantage that you just spoke of, Dr. Daniels, in having the live training conducted by staff or by general counsel, we also are able to incorporate some of our own policies and procedures very specific to the district. So that is an advantage of doing it internally rather than looking outside for a training.
And I don't think all of us have to do the same thing. If some wanted the live training and someone wanted the online training, I think that'd work as long as all 5 of us do something that's approved.
Agreed.
What we also can do is if we can record our session, and that would be an opportunity to, if someone is unable to attend, that could be an opportunity for someone to actually attend the training that was conducted by us because we're doing this virtually. So there would be the opportunity to record that training.
Would that qualify?
I would probably have to introduce some interactive activities so that it does meet that requirement. And if, Josh would probably be doing the same thing, but
Yeah,
yes,
I agree, Tracy,
we,
but
we would make it, we could make it so that it does comply.
Okay. All right. Anyone want to craft a suitably inclusive motion?
Okay.
Do people prefer it the same day, or like Bruce suggested to have a different day?
Yes, I kind of liked Carla's suggestion of the same day, but a break if we're going to do it, just because we're already, making ourselves free for that day. But I do like the options of having the online one as an option if it's too much.
If we had knew of a meeting that was going to be canceled in advance, we could probably just do that.
That's true.
But I don't think we have one for quite a few months scheduled.
Didn't we cancel the one first in January?
5th, yes. Yeah, on the consent.
We could do that.
We did that last meeting.
Time though, is that?
Yeah.
That falls into a different problem. Is that it's just so close to the holiday? But I still preferred. I think it's really still beneficial to have the district be involved in the training, that live training. I just think it's.
If you do go that way after hearing your comments, we would certainly try to make the agenda as light as possible on that days, and maybe, yeah, that would be definitely a goal of staff.
Okay.
So when does this have to be completed by?
We're in the training year of 2021. And so on the sexual harassment and prevention training, as long as we get our folks trained within 2021, that training year that's designated, then we're compliant. I always suggest that if we are in a training year, we try to get everyone trained by September, no later than September. Otherwise, there could be a push a little bit closer to the end of the year that could put us in jeopardy of not being compliant. So we typically have done the ethics training when Bob was conducting these trainings in January or February, early February. And so I think meeting that, that was the goal, and trying to stick with that schedule.
But if we're going to try and find a day when the normal schedule is pretty light, we could have it more floating that way, that when we see an agenda that's very light, then we would schedule the one of the two sessions for that meeting.
Yeah, I was also going to recommend that we not have them within the same month. Just like the February 1st, maybe we could plan on that and plan a light meeting, and then not hamstring ourselves by having a full meeting on the second meeting in February, but defer it to March 1st instead. Just move it so we're not really bound up in 1 month.
Right.
So Tracy and Josh, I think those are good ideas. Are y'all amenable? Does it sound good if we could float the dates a little bit, and then when we see those agendas that are light, see which one of you are available, and maybe it could even start at 6 if it was light enough, and then if not, 5 to 7, and then do it that way. What does that sound like to you?
I think that would work for me without a problem. I'm not sure how well we would be able to advertise for other agency board members to participate as we have in the past when we did have that hard date, and people were able to save that date and work that into their schedules. That is the only drawback I would see in having a floating type schedule. But if we see it, as far enough down the road, then we can put the word out.
That's true. And I will say Central Water District, they've already asked, and usually the MGA private well owners like to attend. So that is a consideration, but we could look do our best to give as much lead time as possible.
The first meeting in February is Groundhog Day. And I'd like to recommend that we do the ethics training on Groundhog Day.
That sounds eminently sensible.
You want it or don't want it?
No, I think it's appropriate.
We just have to keep doing it over and over again.
It kind of feels that way every 2 years sometimes.
No, I feel like I've already done it this year.
I like the symbolism of that.
Yeah, let's do that on Groundhog's Day.
I think starting at 5 o'clock is still okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I'd rather actually do it earlier, just in case everything turns out great and we can all travel again in the summer. I don't want to wait till summer to find out or to decide to do it. I think it's good to do it earlier in the year while we're still trapped, in our cocoons here.
And I like the idea of 1 month doing one and next month doing
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suggest that we schedule the training. And if perhaps the agenda was really, really large, we could postpone.
So I
would prefer
just to clarify, we're talking about one of them on Groundhog Day, and then the second one the following month, the first meeting in March.
So I'll make the motion that we have the ethics training on February 1st, starting at 5 p.m. and
February 2nd.
Oh, is it the 2nd?
Yeah.
Second, sorry. That's right. Sorry, February 2nd. Somebody had mentioned the 1st, but I thought Groundhog Day was the 2nd.
Oh, it's the first week at the first meeting.
and then the harassment training on March 2nd, also at 5 p.m.
Okay. I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Director LaHue,
Yes.
Vice President Lather,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Amazing discussion, yes.
Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Daniel.
Yes. And it's good to know we're not being sued about this. So that's done. We're not doing a closed session. We've already done that. So I think we're ready to adjourn.
No.
And before we adjourn,
No, we still have one.
4.4, yes.
We've got a close
Yes,
consent.
4.4, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Christine, is she here?
I am here. So this memo is brought to you every year in December, and it is required by California government code. And it just lists the property that the district owns that we have deemed to be surplus. And in attachment 1, there is a listing of those properties.
Okay, we have one comment on this from Becky.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Director Jaffe, thank you again for pulling this item. I really think it needs to have some good public discussion. I want to ask why I have watched this board keep the Glenwood Reservoir property on the rolls year after year after year. And I question the wisdom of hanging on to that piece of land when it's pretty obvious to me that the district doesn't intend to use it for any type of recharge project. So the district really needs money right now. And why not sell these surplus pieces of property, which also includes a little chunk of land on Redwood Drive in my neighborhood that is just an old tank site, I understand, but the adjacent property owner would probably really like to have the land and would pay you something for it. So I question the wisdom of hanging on to things like this and not instead selling them for the revenue. I also question why the parcels next to the district offices are not considered surplus property. They were purchased for the West Annex piece of Pure Water Soquel project, that is not going to happen. So why not let it revert back to the housing development that had some entitlements, I believe, when you bought it 5 to 7 years ago, and let that be a benefit to the community, providing some housing, possibly affordable housing, rather than hanging on to it. I know that you have offered it to Central Fire Protection District, but in reality, that district has no money and will not have the ability to build a new fire station and buy the land.
Steinbruner.
Thank you.
Okay, any comments on this?
Thank you for the public comment. I don't know if staff wants to respond to anything, but yeah, thanks for the public comment.
Anyone have anything to say? One thing I would like to make sure gets considered is there's a piece of residential property in the Soquel, I forget what the name of that development is, but there's one site that we own, and we were considering it, I know, for the well on that side of the creek. And instead we have the other facility we've built up there now. So I don't know why we need that. It is a perfect residential lot. So, I could certainly see that going. So that's another one to consider, whether we actually need it anymore or not. It's also vacant.
Well, I'll just add, this is just a extremely general comment, and I'm not arguing about any specific lot or piece of property, but it's a lot easier to hold on to a piece of property until you're absolutely sure, because I'd like to point out, before the Pure Water Soquel, we have those recharge wells. We needed more space. We needed some property to complete the project, and it just so happened that worked out. But we really, I think it pays to review it every year, so it's a proper requirement to report on excess property, real property. But I'm not necessarily urging that we get rid of it all just before we know what the needs for the district are. For sure, they change every couple of years, it seems.
One thing that might make sense is to keep holding these properties until we get the Pure Water project finished, and we know that these alternate kinds of things are not going to happen. And after we get done with all the lawsuits over Pure Water, and then consider selling things, because then we'll know we absolutely don't need them anymore.
Yeah, I had the same thought, Bruce.
I would say maybe at that time, it would be good in the report to just say the benefit of keeping them or any thoughts for their uses, so that we'd have that in the report.
Yeah.
Okay, that's for, to be clear, that's for next time we bring this back.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like to request that when it's clear that the Pure Water Soquel is going to be a go, that we have a more serious look at some of these properties.
Makes sense to me anyway. Anyone else? Okay, let's adjourn now.